Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, y'all. Happy Q3. Quarter three started just a couple days ago. So if you're not familiar, my name is Justin Moore. I'm the founder of Creator Wizard, and I help you find and negotiate your dream sponsorships. So today we're talking again all about Q3 pitch strategies. And I am multi-streaming on a bunch of different platforms right now. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I am on my YouTube channel, my private group, lots of different places. So please let me know where you are tuning in from in the chat. I don't know why I have what is this? I have multiple windows over here I'm using Restream to actually go live on a bunch of different places. So something strange is going on, but I am here. I think it's working. Let me, if you can hear me and see me, let me know in the chat because I need to know it. We got Do Rag Dev the Goat. We've got Simple Sam from New Orleans in TikTok. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Let me pull up my. I need to pull up my Instagram as well to make sure that everything is going live over there. Seems like it's going live over there. Yes, we've got Gray Domain. We've got Alex. What's going on? Alex is in my Brand Deal Wizard course. What's going on, Alex? We've got Bryce. We've got the crew in IG as well. We've got Shadow Destiny. Everything working great. Nomadic Visuals. YouTube can hear and see you. We've got Hella Base. We've got the group. We got everyone tuning in. All right. We got TikTok lawyers joining in too. This is a fun, eclectic group today. So excited to talk about Q3 pitching strategies. So first and foremost, for those of you guys who are not familiar with what Q3 means or why that's important as a creator, is that most of the time brands organize their marketing budgets by quarter. And so, Q1 is January to March, Q2 is April to June, and that just ended. So Q2 ended. And then the start of Q3 is July to September. And then fall is October to December. And so oftentimes brands will organize their marketing budgets. So they'll allocate certain, let's say they allocate $500,000 or something to their Q2 plans. And so now we're squarely in the summertime. So that lasts obviously July through September, and also typically incorporates back to school and the start of fall campaigns. And so I thought I would jump on here and talk about pitch strategies for working with brands during Q3. We got Technically T, Delina. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. This is a blast. I am excited. I did an interview last week with a friend of mine, Billy, talking all about copywriting. And so when I do interviews, I don't live stream on Instagram or TikTok because I only have enough room for my head on those platforms when I'm doing multi-streaming. I mean, it's not like a actual native IG or TikTok live where it's like stacked or something. So haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. So happy to be back on those platforms as well. All right. Yeah. Oh, TikTok lawyers shared the live. Thank you for sharing the live. That's a thing. You can share the live. So yes, I would love it if you could share the live. The more, the merrier. Stoked to have everyone here as well. All right, so let's dive right into it. So again, I'm going to chat through some things related to pitching, but if you have any questions, I'm going to be answering all of your Q&As afterwards. So drop it in the chat. Let me know because that would be, that's like my favorite part. Okay, so first and foremost, with respect to like Q3 pitching strategies, it's really important to realize that as brands get larger, the further in advance they plan their influencer marketing strategies, right? So if you are reaching out for a summer campaign right now, don't get frustrated if they say they don't have any more budget for paid partnerships at this time, right? Now, had you reached out pitching a back to school campaign or a fall campaign, that may have been a different story, right? And you would think that they would tell you that, right? Like, hey, we don't have any budget for summer, right? But, we might have for fall, but that's not always the case. So even if they turn you down right now, do not take no for an answer, okay? You have to keep digging and asking questions to discern what their marketing plan looks like for the rest of the year. A lot of creators hear no, and they think the brand hates me. They're never going to want to work with me. There's something wrong with me. My content sucks. My views are low. My engagement sucks. Like it's all you turn inward because that's obvious, right? And creators, when they say, oh, and the brand says, oh, we don't have any money. we're not working with creators. Well, we'll be happy to send you product for free or whatever, right? Because what happens oftentimes is that, again, they allocate money, a certain amount of money for the quarter. And if you reach out at an inopportune time, either they've allocated all the funds for that particular quarter already, or they've allocated a certain amount, but they always have, let's say budget to, send out free products. I mean, they always have the ability to send out free products, right? That doesn't mean that they're never going to pay you, right? It just means that now may not be the right time. And this is one of the core fundamental things that I teach in my courses and my coaching and things like that, is that it's not no. It's just not yet. Okay. So the name of the game is you never take no for an answer. You're always pivoting to something else. You're always providing value over a long time period, because surprise, surprise, guess what? If you are staying on their radar when they do have budget, and when, a campaign does open up for recruitment, you're going to be top of mind because you've continued to follow up. Right. And so the reason I like starting to talk about like Q3 right now is because it just started, and the larger the brand gets, yes, they do start planning out things in advance. So right now, candidly, a lot of larger brands and agencies are planning for holidays already, like fall campaigns, holiday season already, right? And so you reaching out right now to pitch a summer campaign, they may say, oh, well, you know what? We already locked that in Q2. We already locked that in, like 2-3 months ago. Surprise, like this may shock you, but through my agency, we have done RFPs, or an RFP is a request for proposal. So a brand or an agency will reach out and they'll say, hey, we have an RFP. We would love for you to submit a proposal for, this campaign that we're planning. We have submitted proposals like for, let's say they reached out. I remember one in particular. They reached out in January, and they wanted a proposal for March of the following year. So 14 months in advance. This was a very, very big company. Okay, so that's how crazy it can get for some of these large brands. So that being said, there are, the smaller to the medium-sized brands, they're not planning out that far in advance, especially if they do not have an agency. If they don't have an agency, they're operating on, a much quicker timeline for their marketing planning. So yeah, if you reach out right now, you still may be able to lock in a campaign for next month, or for the following month, right? So it still can be worth it to, target those smaller to mid-sized brands. And so I wanted to start off with kind of this educational piece around planning, because it's so like, how many times, let me know in the comments, drop it if you've ever, reached out to a brand, you've cold pitched them, or you've reached back out to a brand that you've worked with in the past, and they said, oh, you know what, we've allocated all of our funds, or reach back out to us, in 2 months or whatever, when we start planning for the next quarter. So this is just a very common thing, and it's just important to like not take this stuff personally. Be objective, not get mad at the brand, and realize that if you see them partnering, like this also happens oftentimes. Creators will reach out to a brand, they'll pitch a brand and be like, hey, work with me. And then they say, oh, sorry, we don't have any budget for paid, influencer campaigns. And then that creator sees another creator, 2 or 3 weeks later, or a month later, doing a paid activation. They get mad. Hey, that brand told me they're not doing any paid influencer campaigns. What you don't realize is that they actually forged that partnership with that other creator probably 2 or 3 months ago. And it's just now, coming to the activation. Now, they've already, maybe they created that draft content a month and a half ago. It had to go through the legal review process, yada, yada. And then it's like, okay, now it's finally time to actually publish the content. So don't like attribute this malicious intent to the brand and be like, hey, how dare they? They just said they're not working with creators in a paid capacity. But you just have to understand that sometimes these things take time and you can't take it personally. Okay. Yeah. TikTok lawyer says it is a thing. It is a thing. So yeah, let me know. Yeah. Gray Domain says, I got 100 emoji from Gray Domain. We got Megan Moves. We got Hannah Lee Lifestyle. Thanks y'all for tuning in. We got Tanayats. I'm not sure. Tasha Magolo, Chip Builds. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Anika Walter asked in the TikTok chat, what makes you happy? That's a very nice question. Thank you. I don't think I've been asked that in a very long time. What makes me happy? My family, like traveling, doing good work, having an impact, serving people, helping change other people's lives. All of those things are the things that I wake up and those are the things like and get really excited and get really happy about. The other thing too is that what has made me happy has changed a lot throughout my life. Whereas before, when I was like first starting out in my, like when I was like really young, we're getting pretty deep here. When I was really young, music, I lived and breathed music. I've written hundreds and hundreds of songs. I play multiple instruments like that. I was sure that like I was going to be a professional musician, like growing up. That was like no question in my mind. And then that didn't, I had the option to either go to engineering school or go to music school. Like I applied to both different, so I could have gone to the UC Santa Barbara School of Music. I got in there, and I also got into the UCLA Engineering School. And then it was like a torturous decision for me. And I ultimately chose to go to engineering school. My logic was like, oh, the music scene in LA, I'll still be able to do my music on the side and all that stuff. And so it's just funny how life works out. But yeah, as I've matured and as I've grown, like my professional priorities were much more present in my mind when I was younger. And as I've gotten older, as I met my wife and as I had kids, it's like my priorities and the things that have made me happy throughout my life has definitely changed. Case in point, like we have been grinding on social media for a decade plus. Like my wife started her first YouTube channel in 2009. And so like we have lived and breathed and been kind of workaholics. Very little work-life balance. Obviously, we the working that hard has afforded us this amazing lifestyle and all these different new opportunities, as well, obviously. But it's like at some point you have to realize like you are in control of your own destiny when you work for yourself, when you are a freelancer, when you're self-employed. And so typically when you're a creator, the harder you work, the more money you make. And like truly, like we have made more money each year over the last 12 years that we've been doing this than the prior year. And yet our marginal happiness has not increased for the last 5 or 6 years. Like we're just like super happy. Like making more money has not demonstrably changed our like level of happiness. We can travel whenever we want. We have, time independence basically. Like we, can go out to eat. Like we can do all the things that really make us happy. We're not people who really are, make these kind of ostentatious purchases and are gaudy and like showy, like a lot of people on social media. No shade. It's just like that's never been really us. And so like experiences, all that stuff is like, once you reach a certain financial level, it's like making more doesn't really impact that. And so like, I don't know, lately my wife and I have been thinking like, how can we dial in the right level of like hard work to actually enjoying life? Because at some point after some point, it's like, what's the point? Right? You're just like, can't take it with you when you die. Right. So at this point, again, like happiness, things change as you get older and go into new life chapters, being very present for my kids, being able to like be my kids' t-ball coaches and like things like that. Like those are all things that make me happy these days. So I don't think you quite expected that that was going to be the answer when you asked me that, but I decided to go off on this tangent. Oh, I got my boo in the chat. What's up, baby? Oh, April's like, I like silent luxury though. LOL. I love some BCA jewelry and some packs. We always got to have the yin and yang with April dropping some gems in the chat. What's up, baby? That's so funny. All right. So let's go into the next point. I know we got off on a little tangent there. So we're talking about Q3 pitching strategies. So another critical thing to realize about pitching brands right now is that this is not business as usual. Brands and agencies are being very mindful about the global economic climate, and they're taking a hard look at their advertising spend, right? So now this doesn't mean that they're going to completely eliminate influencer marketing budgets, but it does mean that your pitches need to be very compelling and an absolute slam dunk for them to convince their superiors to pay you. And it's not good enough to say, hey, I love your brand. I'd love to collaborate, right? No, you say, based on the research that I did on your budgeting app, it seems like you're targeting Gen Z. One of the biggest things that I've learned interacting with my audience over the last 6 months is that finding a steady, well-paying job in this economic climate after they graduate high school or college is absolutely top of mind. I would love to help tell your brand story about how you can help support them along that journey, right? So your pitches need to be mindful of what everyone is thinking about right now. I think a lot of creators, they have these templates, right? What the things that they say, the things that they pitch all day long, and they just don't deviate from that. They don't change that at all. And it's like, no, like you cannot be tone deaf like right now. There's so much going on in the world, and brands have a responsibility to be mindful of that in the way in which they're marketing to consumers. You as a creator need to be mindful about how you're pitching to brands, because again, it's not business as usual. And, believe me, you're going to get on their radars when you also can show that you have your finger on the pulse of, their prospective customers, right? Who are your followers, right? So it's just really important. You are, as a creator, you are a business. And if you want to do business with other businesses, with these brands, you need to be mindful of this climate, and you can't just stick your head in the sand, right? Gray Domain says, very much can relate to this. Well said. Gray Domain, I'm assuming you're talking about the whole happiness thing and finding new levels of, different things, that you find happiness about over the years. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely changed over the years. Annika Walter says, best answer I have heard in a long time. Wow. So maybe you asked this to a lot of people. So I feel very, 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 like honored that you feel that way. So thanks for asking it. We've got the KMH family in the YouTube chat, Bundle 523. Lashana, what's going on, Lashana, in the chat? Let's see. We got some great questions in here that I'm excited to answer in just a moment here. So I have one more thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to dive into Q&A. So ask it in the chat, because I am going to be answering all your questions shortly. So, okay, we're talking about Q3 pitching strategies. Okay. So please, please, please stop worrying about other creators' business, whether they're growing or whether they're getting more deals than you, or if they're accepting free product from brands and you feel like it's making it more difficult for you to convince brands to pay you. You have absolutely no control over any of those things. The only thing that you have control over is you, right? Now, it is helpful to grow your network and become friendly with other creators, because we all need community and we all need support so we don't feel isolated, obviously. However, when it comes to pitching brands, what worked for other people is not necessarily going to work for you. So, yeah, there may be templates out there, or maybe even stuff that I've told you to do, but at the end of the day, your path to success will be forged by you and you alone. Okay, so I'm a big believer in the fact that, yeah, it's really important to get advice from, other people on social media and other coaches and all that stuff. Heck, I'm a coach, right? I help people with their sponsorship strategy. But at the end of the day, those are all inputs. But at the end of the day, you have to take those in, you have to analyze them against what is working for you, what you have found success with, and make it your own, right? Because you are one of one. There was only one you. Right. And so when you are reaching out to brands and trying to pitch collaborations, what worked for someone else may not work for you. Right. And so I just think it's really, really important to realize that you cannot just regurgitate what other people are telling you. One of the core fundamental things that I teach in my course and all of my coaching is that I am going to provide you frameworks and methodologies. And yeah, I'll throw in a few templates here and there. But at the end of the day, like, you cannot use those things as crutches. What I am teaching people is how to operate independently and how to learn the skills to be able to, capably navigate any negotiation. So regardless of what a brand says to you, say, oh, okay, you know what? I know what to say here, right? Because I've seen something similar. A lot of it is like pattern matching, right? It's like, oh, I've heard about, this type of scenario, and this is what I can say here. But again, the words that you use have to resonate with you. They have to be in alignment with your audience. They have to resonate with that particular brand. There are so many niches out there, right? There are so many niches that I've never even heard of. I had 2 one-on-one coaching calls yesterday, and these were 2 creators in like wildly different niches. One creator had, I'm happy to give him a shout out, Paul. He has what he calls his podcast is the Green Industry Podcast. And his niche is all about helping other lawn care business owners, lawn care professionals who have businesses, doing lawn care, grow their businesses. That is his podcast. He has a daily podcast all about this, and he has brands banging down his door to sponsor him. Okay. And so what I want you to hear from this is that what works for, a lifestyle influencer or a food influencer may not work for Paul, who has a podcast about helping lawn care professionals, right? So you just have to understand that all of these inputs, even you being on this live stream, yes, it's all helpful and it's all important. That's why I do this. But you have to take this, adapt it, mold it to your own. Okay? Rafi Knows Best says, epic niche, perfect for podcasting. Yes, exactly. That's what I thought too. And I just love to hear how many opportunities like really, really niche creators um, have, because again, like if you are any brand who is trying to talk to that customer, there is like not a lot of people that they can hire to get their message out. That's another thing that I teach in my courses and coaching and stuff, is that there's this concept of what's called your BATNA, which is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Both parties in a negotiation have this, they have to think about this, right? Because you as a creator, if they're not hiring you, where else are they going to go? Right? If you're in a super defined niche, it's not like there's a bunch of, like for me, look at me. I am teaching creators about sponsorship strategy. How many other people are doing? Yeah, there's a lot of people who are teaching growth on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff, right? But how many other people are sponsorship coaches, right? So if there are startups out there who are trying to, they're making, software to help you create media kits, or they're helping, build these like creator marketplaces where they connect creators with brands. There's a bunch of startups like this in this ecosystem, right? So if they believe that creator education is a core fundamental thing to help their business grow, and they come to me and say, hey, we want to tap into your expertise, your network of creators, your alumni in your courses, the people who follow you on social media, I am going to charge a pretty penny for access to my community, right? Because there are not a lot of other people like me out there, right? And so that is the power of actually having a very well-defined niche, a very well-defined customer, because when the brands reach out to you and realize that, wow, Justin has 50,000 people in his audience who are all trying to hustle and get brand partnerships, wow, I'm going to pay him for access to that, right? Okay. Gray Domain says, love that VOS acronym. What is the VOS acronym? Can you let me know? I've never heard that. What is the VOS acronym? Let me know. I've never heard that. Mionio says, love you and April so much. Been watching you guys since since started the cooking channel on YouTube. Wow, that's a long time. Thank you so much. Thank you for your long time support. That's so kind. Okay. Alex says, fire, fire, fire emoji. Thank you. I appreciate you. That nurse Kev says, what is your educational background? So I have an engineering background. So I went to school for computer science at UCLA in college. So that was very much, I was in medical devices before any of this stuff. So I thought that was going to be my career. And then I did go back to school and get my MBA. But like, yeah, that's my background. Let's see. We got a question from in the IG chat. All right, yeah. So we're diving into Q&A now. Hopefully those Q3 pitch strategies, those quick tips were helpful for you. Diving into Q&A now, so leave it in the chat. We got a question from Disadventure Life. How to pitch and transition from gifted to paid. Hey, guess what? My next course is literally called Gifted to Paid. I've been talking about it for a year and a half. I ran a live workshop on it last year, and it is finally going to be coming out in September, in the September timeframe. Just putting the finishing touches on all the copywriting, and I hired a copywriter for it. Super excited about that process. But yeah, so I can give a couple quick tips here. So in general, the most important thing to realize when you're trying to convince a brand why they should pay you instead of just giving you the free product is realizing that, if you look at your audience, 5, 10, 50,000 followers or whatever, right? When a brand reaches out and says, hey, here's a free product, like talk about us, right? Like, what is that really the price of admission for them to access those, 50,000 followers of yours? Like, seriously, truly? Right. And so a lot of it comes down to mindset and understanding, like leaning into your expertise and your pool, your community, who has raised their hand and clicked follow and said, I want to hear what Justin has to say about this particular topic, right? You are influential within that niche. And so like communicating and articulating that to brand that, hey, if you want to like access my audience who are exactly the customer that you're trying to reach, that's something that you need to compensate me for. And by the way, it's not just about accessing your audience. It's not just about accessing your followers. There's so many other ways in which you can provide value to a brand beyond just your vanity metrics on social media. Oh, 10,000 followers, 50,000 followers, whatever, right? Oftentimes there's so many other ways that they can get leverage and mileage out of the content that you can create for them. So whether that's creating exclusive content that they'll actually post on their social media, maybe it's running paid advertising on, your channel or on their owned and operated, website or, their social platforms or whatever, right? Maybe it's consulting, maybe it's strategy work that you're going to help them with because you understand social media, you understand short form content on TikTok, or you understand how to tell a compelling narrative story on YouTube in long form video, right? So there's all these things and value that you can provide, and it's up to you. The onus is on you to actually tell that story and educate them as to why they should pay you. Whereas maybe they're used to just a bunch of other creators being like, yeah, sure, send the product, I'll talk about it, right? Because they don't understand that, but you do because you're on this live stream, right? So those are just some good quick tips. All right. Let's dive into some questions in the YouTube chat. Let's see. I got a question from Delina. Delina says, why do brands pay marketing companies to find free product for post? The creator ends up doing all the work. Okay, so let me explain the couple different strategies about how brands think about this particular piece, because it's a good lead into the question that was just asked about, like, how do you actually transition from gifted to paid? So most brands, pretty much all brands, if they're, if they have two brain cells, have multiple different strategies when it comes to marketing, right? And doing PR, because most of like influencer marketing falls under the purview of PR or public relations, right? And so like you have to have a gifting strategy if you're a brand. Like that's just part of it, right? You do product seeding, it's called, right? And the difference is, and so basically what they'll do is they'll reach out to, let's say, 500 creators or something like that, or they'll pay a marketing agency or an influencer agency or an influencer platform to actually do this product seeding for them and say, hey, let's just try and get this product in the hands of as many people as possible. And if they post about it, great, but it's not a requirement. So that's the difference, right? In my opinion, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing product seeding where there's no expectation of a post in return. I am not a fan of the brand actually saying, hey, here's a brief, here's talking points, here's your promo code, right? You got to do this call to action. That is a campaign in which you should be compensated for it as a creator. And I understand there's lots of brands out there who are trying to get you to do a bunch of stuff for free, right? And so that is not what I'm talking about. However, and so what this tactic, the gifting, the product seeding strategy, is completely fine because, there's not going to be 100% takers. Maybe you're going to get, 20, 30% of those creators that you reach out to being willing to do that. But the reason that this can be powerful, and I do not discourage you from actually receiving that, again, if there's no posting requirements, is that can oftentimes be the beginning of a very beautiful journey. Again, what you are not saying to the brand is, oh, I'm going to guarantee that I post about it. But what you are doing is, hey, maybe you casually mention it in an IG story frame. You tag the brand because that is the very first touch point of this relationship with the brand. Because let me tell you how this works, okay? When you make that post and the marketing agency then goes and says to the brand, hey, awesome, Justin, they posted about it. They were super excited about it. That's awesome. Then the brand makes this mental note, or they make a short list and they say, the next time that we have a paid campaign, right, where there's actually a campaign where we're going to be compensating people, I am going to be on that short list, or you are going to be on that short list, because now you have authentic affinity for the brand. Because remember, when the brand is doing a paid activation, there are very specific things that they want you to say. There's key messages, there's talking points, there's a call to action. That is what they're paying for, right? When you create the content, they can now repurpose that. They can cut that down into a 15-second IG story or a 30-second ad that they can run on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, right? That's what they're compensating for, because they're getting the sound bites, right? That you're not going to be saying when they just send you the product for free and they're not telling you to do anything. Okay. So again, this is a very big difference from them actually saying, hey, here's all these requirements you have to post in all these different places for a $50 bag of, like a $10 bag of potato chips or whatever, right? I am absolutely not saying that you should do that. You should definitely not do that. Okay. Because when you do that, it's going to be very difficult to convince them to actually pay you. And so again, the reason that brands will oftentimes pay agencies to, do this kind of product seeding is because that should be part of their marketing strategy for any brand. There's a gifting strategy, there's a product seeding strategy, and then there is a paid media strategy, right? Where it's either paying influencers or it's running ads on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, right? This is all part of a concerted marketing strategy, and you have to educate yourself that that's just the case in this industry. Okay. All right. Durag Dev the Goat says in TikTok, do you think me being a nicheless comedy creator hurts my ability to work with brands? So when you say nicheless, I imagine that you don't like have anything in particular, like that you focus on, like you're not doing comedy about a particular topic. So generally my advice about this is that, let's work backwards here. Okay. Imagine you are a brand and you want to recruit creators for a particular campaign. You almost always have a very specific consumer segment in mind that you're trying to reach, because those are the prospective customers that you're trying to target, right? And so let's say that I am, a millennial, I am a, credit card company that is targeting millennial parents or something, right? Or something like that. Like I'm just randomly picking a segment because every brand has a target customer like that, right? And so the first thing that they do when they're devising any sort of marketing campaign, influencer marketing is just one tactic, right, of an overall marketing campaign, is they're going to say, okay, well, what types of personalities, what types of creators could we work with? So usually the first thing that they're going to think of is like, okay, let's go target like millennial TikTokers who are giving financial budgeting advice or whatever, right? And so, or people who are within the budgeting niche who are talking to that audience, right? And so what they're not saying is let's just go find any millennial. That's not what they're doing. They're starting at the niche because they want to go as quickly as possible down to that, how can they target that particular consumer segment? Right. And so by not having a niche in general, whether you're a comedy creator or not, they're going to be overall less campaigns that are trying to find people like you. Does that make sense? Because there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other comedy creators making content just like you. So it's going to be, not only is it going to be, are there less campaigns that are recruiting for creators like you, but there's a much larger pool of people who are nicheless, who are trying to vie for those spots. Whereas if you are in a niche, yes, the opportunity, there's less overall opportunities, but you are a much bigger fish in a smaller pool. So the actual probability and the likelihood of you snagging those deals is going to be much higher. Does that make sense? So in general, I do believe that it's like, that is the reason, like this is a big myth. Like a lot of people think like, oh, if I have a niche, I'm going to get less opportunities. It's actually the exact opposite. Not only are you going to get more opportunities, but you're going to be paid more because there's less people like you to actually like hire for a campaign, right? Going back to that example that I just talked about with my friend Paul, who I did a one-on-one coaching session with yesterday. He has a podcast all about like talking to lawn care professionals who own businesses. If I am a big, mowing company, or if I'm, Home Depot or Lowe's or whoever, like I'm trying to like target this particular audience, there's not that many people out there to hire, right? And so your negotiating leverage goes way up in those scenarios. So yes, you may be able to generate lots of eyeballs and lots of impressions and lots of followers, right? Yes, that's yes, you can very well do that. That's great. But if you are trying to turn this into a business, it's going to just be much more challenging unless you're directly monetizing your audience. That's a totally different subject, right? But if you believe that working with brands, you want working with brands to be a non-trivial portion of your overall revenue diversification strategies, then having a niche absolutely behooves you. Okay? Let me know if that is helpful, y'all. I have been going quite in depth with some of these answers. I just get these are great topics, by the way. So great questions. Keep them coming. All right. So let's dive into some more questions on YouTube. Bundle523 says, hey, Justin, what does it mean when a brand asks for the ability to create derivative works in the usage category? Great question. So derivative work. So what this would oftentimes mean is that they want the ability, for example, let's say you make a YouTube video or some Instagram reels or TikToks or something. What they may want to do is take that content and create a montage asset, right? Where maybe they're hiring 10 or 15 other creators and they want to make a 30-second spot where they take like 1 second of you doing a cool dance or whatever, like you did in your thing, stitched in with 15 other people. So that would be called a derivative work, where they actually carve out a portion of the footage or the photo asset or whatever, and they turn it into a new work that then they can, utilize however they'd want to. So generally, you do want to limit their ability to do this, or at least articulate or enumerate, exactly what they have in mind about this. Usually, like honestly, that's just part of like the boilerplate like usage terms that they have in the contract. And almost always you can get them to strike stuff like that because they don't have any plans to like do montage assets or whatever. And so just the fact of you saying, hey, can you strike that clause? They'll be fine with it. Usually they just, again, they'll try and get everything in there as possible to just kind of be a catch-all, like, oh, and maybe if the brand or the client like asks down the line that they want to do this, then we're covered because we already had that clause in there, rather than having to go back to the talent and being like, hey, like, is it okay if we make this montage asset? Because then what inevitably happens is the creator will be like, no, pay me more money. Right. And so their goal is to always get as many as broad of terms as possible at the outset, so that they don't have to go back out there and like pay more money for these things that clients ask down the line. And so again, like if they're not planning on actually like doing stuff like that, then you should be able to strike that from the agreement. Okay. The KMH family said, Justin, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your advice, tips, gems, and energy. We just signed 5 well-paid contracts for Maya. You've been such an amazing brand coach and inspiration, Hannity. I am so thrilled to hear that. Congratulations to you and to Maya and your entire family. Guys, Hannity has been following. How long have you been following Hannity? I mean, a long, long time. And it's just it's so satisfying to see all of you grow and all the success that you're all experiencing, regardless of where you're at on your journey. Maybe you're just starting out, you're getting a bunch of free products, you're trying to figure out how to convert those into paid partnerships, or you are now starting to, reap the, fruits of your labor, and, starting to get a lot of brand partnerships. Like, it's just so satisfying to me. And congratulations. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Let's see here. Shadow Destiny, what's going on? What is the number one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's done a lot of deals through agencies but wants to start pitching brands directly? Okay. So a couple things to say here. First and foremost, working with agencies is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm assuming that you want to start working with brands directly because you feel as though the agencies are like taking money from you, right? They're taking 15, 20, 25% or whatever off the top. And so you're feeling as though you want a larger share of the pie. And so I get that. However, what I would suggest to you is that have a little bit of a mindset shift around this, which is that there is a reason that the brand is hiring that agency. Okay. Oftentimes it's because they don't want to do it. They don't want to deal with influencers directly. And so you actually pitching the brand directly will piss them off. They'll get annoyed. They'll be like, go talk to the agency. That's why we hired them. We don't want to deal with you. Right. However, let me clarify that. Okay. Which is that what I almost always advise is pitching the brand directly should always be your first avenue. However, if you know that if you're trying to like circumvent the agency, whereas you've worked with the agency before, right, and you know that brand works through that agency, like trying to go around them is just going to burn bridges. Like that is not a good strategy. Okay. However, when you are pitching a brand and you don't know whether they have an agency or not who actually represents their interests in the marketplace, then absolutely you should always go straight to the brand contact and do your pitch. Let them kick you to their agency and be like, oh, thank you so much. This is interesting. Here, please, talk to the agency or whatever. Like that's totally fine. So you should always go directly to the brand first if you don't know, but circumventing the agency is the number one best way to like burn bridges in this space. And so the reason I say that is because some of the most lucrative deals that we've gotten over the years have been through agencies, right? Because oftentimes the moment that a brand brings on an agency, that often means that they're allocating more and more money to their influencer marketing strategy. And so having an agency, like them taking 20 or 30% of the deal or whatever, that's just like part of it. That's part of doing business. And so, you should not like think that means like that is a particularly bad thing for you, right? So like, again, like agencies can be, the other big advantage to working with agencies is that if you do good work for them, they will oftentimes hire you for other clients, right? So don't have this kind of single-minded approach that like, oh, I'm getting less of the pie. That's just like, that's just the way it works. They hired the agency to actually facilitate the deal for them, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. All right. All right, next question. Drop your questions again. This is the Q&A time. So if you have any questions for me, please drop it in the chat. That would be awesome. Okay. Saba Fatima had a question. Most brands say that they get so many requests for partnerships that they only work with people for 10,000 plus followers. Also, they don't care much for UGC. So where do you look? I'm curious, like, what types of brands are you targeting? If it is the big, really big brands who do get a lot of inbound requests for partnerships, whether, it's like Target, and they get hundreds, thousands of people sliding in their DMs every day. Oh, I'd love to collaborate with you. Yeah, of course it's going to be difficult, right? But if it's the smaller to mid-tier brands or it's the niche brands, I would suggest that probably they don't get a lot of inbound, partnership requests. The whole idea about like, oh, you have to have 10,000 plus followers to like actually collaborate with us is a very small-minded approach at influencer strategy. So yeah, there are going to be brands who say that, but maybe that's not going to be the right partner for you. So banging your head against the wall, trying to like collaborate with brands who have that mentality, it's kind of a dead end, right? And so it would behoove you to actually, like, one of the best like ways to actually identify brands who do value you, even regardless of your follower count, is to follow a bunch of other creators in your niche who have similar size audiences. Maybe it's 3 to 10,000 followers, and see what brands they're partnering with. Right? Because that oftentimes can be a good indicator that like, oh, there's, this other creator worked with this brand in my, niche, and that person also has, 3,000 followers ever. Let me reach out to that person. Right? A lot of creators think that, these other people, these other creators are, in their content vertical are competitors. They're not. It's like, that's part of your community. Influencer marketing is not a zero-sum game. If that person over there gets a deal, that's good for you, because you know why? That brand who just worked with that creator, your niche neighbor, they're now saying, wow, that partnership was awesome. Let me go find 100 other creators just like that. There you go. There's your in, right? So a lot of times it comes down to like being resourceful and understanding that, not every brand is going to think that. And you just have to ensure that your pitch is compelling enough to convince them to pay you regardless of your following. Okay. Simple Life Info. What are good brand agency where I can sign up as a mid-sized influencer? So are you are you talking about to have like representation or a manager actually find you deals? Or are you talking about like brand deal platforms or sponsorship platforms that will bring you deal flow? I actually have a list of 50 brand deal platforms. Just go to branddealplatforms.com to download it. And my logic is, you never know where your next deal is going to come from. So you should be on all these platforms. I actually had a creator share a win in my private community that she just got a $12,500 deal from Maverick, which is a brand deal platform, right? So a lot of these platforms have reputations that, oh, they don't pay very much. And like, yeah, some of them, but like a lot of times you have to realize that a lot of brands directly, it'll be like the influencer marketing manager for the brand that you're interacting with on these brand deal platforms. And they actually just use the brand deal platform as a technology layer, like a CRM, creator relationship management tool to actually interface. It's not the platform that you're reaching out to. So yeah, sometimes you do have to wade through a lot of low price offers, but you can find diamonds in the rough. Like I have so many people who've given me that same feedback. Same with my wife and I. We've gotten lots of lots of 5-figure deals through these brand deal platforms just because we're interacting directly with the brand or the agency. Right? Hopefully that's helpful. What's up, Brandon? Brandon from Tech Audit TV says, I've been leaning into vertical content and they've been seeing higher views and affiliate clicks. Despite that, brands are hesitant to invest in vertical and still want long videos. What's the deal? Man, like there is this like phenomenon in technology adoption, where you see this curve where there's oftentimes like a lot of interest from, early adopters and technology enthusiasts and brands and marketers and things like that. And then they experiment with it and then it doesn't go as well as they hope. And then you go down and you see it's kind of like the valley of despair, it's called. And then you go up and you start seeing more and more adoption, like, the people who really truly believed in it keep going. And then you have this like plateau of effect. It's called the plateau of productivity. I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Is that the right one? Something like that. So it's just like, it's like a very common thing, or like a really well-researched phenomenon. And so like that has been my experience with this type of stuff and any new format, any new vertical, live commerce, whatever. I think, the similar things are happening, where it just takes time. Like, this is a short form content, like the adoption of short form content from a content creator perspective as well as an advertiser's perspective is a relatively new phenomenon. Even though, TikTok musically has been around for, quite a few years already, advertisers and their willingness to actually try out this format, whether it's for, native ads that they're running on the platforms or actually working with creators on short form content, this is a relatively new phenomenon, right? So, brands still like very much are like, not, especially large brands, they're not willing to experiment with these new content formats. Believe it or not, it took brands many years to get comfortable with running ads on Instagram, if you can believe it, right? So, like you think now it's like, oh, like every brand's on Instagram, but like that wasn't. Remember, my wife and I have been around since 2009 doing this stuff, and so for a long time they weren't doing this type of stuff. If you can believe this, it was so difficult to convince brands to work with our vlog channel for many years, right? They only wanted to work with like my wife's beauty channel because it was like more polished and like more, they were more accustomed to, it felt more like kind of like a glossy, high production TV ad. That's what they're used to, right? And so it took forever for them to convince us like, hey, like you should run ads, like partner with us, do sponsorships on our family vlog channel. We're seeing so much activity, so much interest, so much engagement, so much performance on our affiliate, all this stuff, right? It took years and years and years. We probably had the channel, I think we started our vlog channel in 2012 maybe. And we didn't start doing regular like sponsorships on there until like 2014 maybe. So it was like, took a good 2 years of that being like, come on, like seriously, I swear, like this is going to perform. And like, that was why I started my influencer agency targeting family vloggers, because I started to see, I was like, this is going to be a thing. Yes, it required a lot more education, but like sometimes that's what it's required. So Brandon, my real advice to you would just be like, keep going, man. It's going to require a little bit of education and eventually brands will see the value in it, but it's just going to take some time. Right. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. Let's dial into some other questions. We got Hello Happy Mom in the IG chat. What's going on? Do you recommend working with a management company? So, man, interestingly enough, one of the really cool perks of my Brand Deal Wizard course, this cohort, I'm like almost done, if you can believe it, almost done with cohort number 6, is I was able to invite a talent manager, an influencer manager, my good friend Kevin Herrera from The Machine. He actually did a guest session, a live session over Zoom, all about the pros and cons of hiring a manager. And so people got to add, it was a whole Q&A and everything. So it was awesome. So if stuff like that excites you, then you should definitely join the next cohort in October. But some of the things that he talked about, which I think were pretty fascinating, was that like a lot of creators think that, man, like I just want to hire a manager. I don't want to deal with any of this stuff. I don't want to learn how to pitch. I just want people to like bring me business. I'll happily give them 20% or whatever of whatever deals they bring me. And the thing you have to realize is that you also, like on the flip side, you have to understand, like, if you don't have deal flow, like, why is that manager going to spend time out there hustling for you for just the commission, right? Oftentimes, like, the reason that you're going to get on the radar of a manager is if you already have a bunch of existing deal flow, right? And you just need help servicing it, right? So you could basically say, I have so many emails from brands, I just can't handle it. Manager X, you go in, you handle all the negotiation, the communication. I'll give you 15%, whatever. right? Like that is the scenario in which a manager is going to be like, okay, like sounds good, let's do this, right? But if you're just at the outset of your journey, this is what I also teach is that you need to invest in your knowledge to learn basic fundamental things, learning about pitching, learning about negotiation, because the other reason that's important is that how are you going to know whether advice that a future manager gives you is even good? They may give you business advice, be like, oh, you should take this deal, it's really good. And if you don't have an experience working in the brands, you're going to be like, okay, I guess this manager is telling me I should do this, when you've ultimately realized that they don't have your best interests at heart and they're just in it for the money, right? And they're eroding your pricing power out there in the market, right? So, there's a lot of pros and cons, I would say. And like Kevin's basic advice, like I'm kind of paraphrasing him here or quoting him, is he basically said, like, the time to get a manager, there's no arbitrary like number of followers or whatever. Like, yeah, there may be people who'd be like, oh, you need 50,000 followers to get a manager. Kevin basically said like, that's BS. Like there's no amount of followers. Like there's, oftentimes people who are getting a bunch of inbound interests and inquiries from partners and brands and things like that at 10,000 because they have something particularly interesting about them, or, they're an athlete, like oftentimes this happens with like college athletes or, NFL people, or like they don't have a huge social following, but they've got lots of brand interest because brands get the traditional kind of sponsorship angle of working with people who are maybe B-list celebrities, reality TV stars, this type of thing, right? And so follower count is not a good proxy for overall influence or potential growth trajectory for a manager, because oftentimes their job is like identifying nascent talent to actually partner with and ride out their growth trajectory also. So his basic, principle was like you should start looking for a manager if you are having a difficult time running your business and creating good content, right? That's really the name of the game, is that if you have, that is the time. And also a manager may not be the first hire or may not be the first move. If you're a YouTuber, maybe hiring an editor or a thumbnail artist or a VA, right? Maybe that's the best first move early on in your career and not necessarily just a manager. So there's a lot of like kind of multifaceted, like his answer was very multifaceted. And this is just also the way that I kind of look at it, is that when it's just difficult for you to kind of, you're not responding to people in a super timely fashion, you're dropping the ball on partnerships, you're missing details, you're just like your work is getting sloppy. Like those are all the reasons to actually bring someone onto your team to help you manage all that. So hopefully that's helpful. Are you kidding me? Only 8 minutes left. This is crazy. Let's see here. We got some other questions here. Yeah. Shadow Destiny said, thanks for the answer. Yeah, it wasn't about circumventing agencies. I just want to start pitching brands directly when I'm not sure about their agency affiliations. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I totally get that. And always, advise. I do have a video on my YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you saw it. It's just like how to pitch a brand from start to finish. And I do talk about kind of the framework and the structure that I advise when you're starting to, think about how to structure these pitches. And so hopefully that's helpful. And yeah, if those of you who are listening might be interested, my Brand Deal Wizard course, my 4-week program, goes into this in extreme detail. In week 1 of the course is all about pitch strategy. How do you actually craft the pitches? How do you figure out who you should reach out to at the brand, and so on. So the place to sign up for the wait list for the October cohort is just branddealwizard.com. All right, let's dive into some more questions. Let's see here. Caleb has a question in LinkedIn. We got Caleb tuning in on LinkedIn. What are the biggest tips you have for educating clients? All right, I love this one. So one of my favorite things to do is actually educate clients. I will always dangle and offer this when I am doing pitching, when I'm doing nurturing to brands that haven't necessarily agreed to partner with us before, is I will offer to do something like, hey, I would love to do a lunch and learn, or like a Zoom, call where I, maybe it's an agency where I, educate your entire, account team on live commerce, on how we're like, seeing a lot of success and growth on Amazon Live or something, right? That is a perfect excuse for you to get on the radar of all their entire team and understand, all the different brands and clients that they represent. So that's the first thing you do. You get on the call and be like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Can't wait to chat with all you guys. Would love to learn a little bit more about some of the clients you work with. And then they tell you, and you just start furiously, or hopefully you're recording it, but you furiously write down all this stuff. And people, you just like get all their names, right? You screenshot all the names of the people who actually, RSVP to the invitation, and then you add them all on LinkedIn, right? And you can start nurturing them because now you know all the different clients that they work on. So that's like one of my favorite tactics. But if you're not comfortable doing stuff like that yet, I totally get it. Education can come in a very simple form, which is purely curating content that others have created about certain things. So what this means is that you go out there and you start subscribing to all of the industry trades. So Digiday or Adweek or, VidCon has a newsletter, Influence Weekly. Like there's tons and tons of weekly newsletters, daily newsletters even, that are chronicling the creator economy and different trends and things that are working on different platforms. And so you then become, you get all this in your, inbox, and you start reading all this stuff, right? And so as you are nurturing brands, you can use some article and you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm trying to pitch, I don't know, random plant brand. I don't know, like some brand that sells, artificial plants, D2C brand that sells artificial plants. So you can say, oh, you see an article on Digiday about how this particular direct-to-consumer brand is killing it with short-form content. And it's like in a similar content vertical, or like consumer vertical as that particular brand that you're trying to nurture. And all you do is you reach out to them and say, oh, saw this article and I thought of you. Check it out. Like that's all you need to do. And then it's part of a much more holistic nurturing strategy that I teach more generally. But it's as simple as that. Like you don't need to be a genius in this stuff. You just need to stay updated with what's going on all these different platforms. And you will then become kind of the go-to resource for a lot of these people. Because again, when it comes to like them recruiting for their next paid campaign, they're going to be like, oh yeah, who was that creator that sent us that article again? Let me go like search my inbox. Like, oh yeah, they seem like they know what they're doing. Let's go like talk to that person. Right. So like that's really one of my big tips around that is that you don't need to be a genius. A lot of creators, when I give these like types of tips around consulting and being kind of a strategist and all this stuff, they just, oh man, I don't know how to do that. I'm not confident enough to do that. You don't need to like, be a fountain of like original ideas. All you need to do is appear to the brand of the agency as someone who's very plugged in, because by proxy, you are going to, be someone that they want to, tap into for expertise. Okay. Shelly can't sit with us. Shelly, that's not very nice. Shelly can't sit with us. Who's Shelly? I'm all about like allowing people to sit. Like this is a very welcoming community and space. Maybe it's an inside joke that I don't know about. Shelly can't sit with us said, what were the names of the publications again? Shelly said it's me. Oh, okay. I got it. Okay. That's okay then. But I hope people are allowing you to sit with them. That's sad. What were the names of the publications again? Digiday, Adweek, Influence Weekly, Future Party, Ad Age has one. It's a Mean Girls reference. I should have known that. I'm sorry. It's been so long since I've seen Mean Girls. But yeah, there's a lot. And so definitely check all those out. Let's see here. The Marielli show says, by the way, I remember you saying that you can get paid to send out packages to creators, and I'm getting paid to do that. Marielli show. Oh my God. This is incredible. Can you email me this win? I need to hear all about this. I'm Justin at creatorwizard.com. Can you please like tell me more about how you did this? I did. I made a video talking about like 5 or 7 strange ways to make $5,000 a month working with brands or something like that. And one of the ideas that I gave was you can actually pitch to a brand that like, hey, I will handle your gifting strategy, your PR strategy. Like you ship me a bunch of products. I'll like, you don't say this, but your garage becomes like a fulfillment center. And then you go out there and you're the one actually pitching to creators. Hey, like I represent this brand XYZ. Can I send you free product? I love this. Like, this is such a cool testimonial. So Mariella, you have to email me and tell me how this all went down, because that is so dope. Congratulations. That's so cool. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. I've got some other questions here. Simple Life Info says, when is the next cohort opening up? So the current cohort is actually ending on Tuesday, if you can believe it. I can't believe it's gone so quickly. And the next cohort is going to be starting in early October. So enrollment will probably be launching late September, so something like that. So make sure to join the waitlist at branddealwizard.com, because not only do I typically let people in on the waitlist a little bit early, but there's going to be some cool events and fun stuff available to the people who join early as well next cohort. So going to be a lot of fun. But also, I wanted to mention that I'm so excited, y'all, that it's been such a long time coming. I feel like I've been talking about it for a year and a half. I actually literally think I've been talking about it for a year and a half, is that my next course, Gifted to Paid, is going to be coming out in the next month and a half or so. And this is going to be my first fully on-demand course. So it's not a live course. And this is going to be talking all about how to convert all these free product offers, all these gifted offers that you're getting into paid partnerships. So this is like a really big pain point that I've identified with a big chunk of y'all, a big chunk of my audience, is that, you've got this situation where you're trying to figure out how do you actually convert, how do you get over that hump to actually convince brands and articulate why they should pay you and not just send you free stuff. And so I wanted to create a course all about this topic, because a lot of it is mindset related. A lot of it is like understanding, there's lots and lots of templates in the course. It's like super fun. I ran a live workshop about this last year, and it was like really well received. And so I can't wait to actually launch that. So really excited. And the other exciting thing is that it's going to be the investment is going to be much more modest to join. So, my Brand Deal Wizard, the cohort based course is $2,000 for the investment, and so it is, it's a significant investment for your career. But the Gifted to Paid is going to be significantly less than that. So I think that's going to be. I wanted to make something that was more accessible for folks. So very excited about that. Gray Domain says, I would have paid for that back in the day. Yes. What's super interesting is that I had a lot of people who actually took my Brand Deal Wizard course enroll in Gifted to Paid. So even though they've done a lot of paid brand partnerships in their particular niche, like tech, for example, brand sending free product offers is still very pervasive. And it's like, man, I wish I could, I'm doing some paid deals, but I'm still getting, even like at 500,000 followers or whatever, I'm still getting a bunch of like free product offers. Like, come on, man, how do I like convert these into paid partnerships? And so it's super interesting. Like I've had a lot of people actually take both, like in reverse. Like I was thinking that Gifted to Paid would be kind of the, not prerequisite, but kind of the introductory layer. And then you kind of graduate to the next, to the cohort program, which is definitely more kind of intermediate to advanced level topics. But it's so interesting to see how it can be useful to both, regardless of where you're at in your creator journey. So yeah, super excited for that to finally launch. Y'all, can't believe it. We are at time. Thank you so much for joining. I felt I had the energy today. I had the juices flowing. I felt like my answers were articulate. I don't feel that way every time, candidly. That's also, I think, a good lesson for all of y'all. If you are creating content, you're not always feeling it, right? Like you feel like you're on the content hamster wheel. Sometimes you feel like filming, sometimes you feel like posting, but like sometimes you don't, right? And it's just like, but me, it's like I consistently try and show up every single week to deliver value, deliver my answers. And, even some weeks I'm maybe a little under the weather, or I may, not be feeling it, or it's like I'm super stressed out and distracted by everything that's going on. But I still try and show up and do it. And so I think it's just like an important thing to keep in mind, is that, like not every day is going to be like your A game. And so, but today I felt like it was my A game. So anyways, I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. Paul Jameson, Paul, you got to go back and watch the replay of this, because I gave you like multiple shout outs through this, because I was, it was top of mind of like what we were talking about yesterday. And I just love your niche. So anyways, good to see you, Paul. And yeah, thanks y'all for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you back next week on, oh my gosh, actually, no, I will not see you back next week on Friday. Because I have some other obligations. So I may need to think about, maybe I'm going to be doing a live stream another time during the week. Maybe we'll see. So yeah, traveling, like the summer is busy. I'm like doing a bunch, we're traveling, vacationing, but also speaking. I'm speaking at multiple events, which I'll hopefully be announcing soon, doing a bunch, the fall tends to be kind of the conference season. And so, yeah, summer and fall tends to be like I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements, which I'm really excited about. So we'll definitely keep everyone posted on that. So anyways, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on the